Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, the engineer. With me, Mr. Lady Ada on camera control. I've got this live show, Ask Engineer, which we broadcast every Wednesday at 8 p.m. from downtown Manhattan. We cover all the latest in electronics, maker news, hacker news, kitting, shows, videos, 3D printing, and more. We got a lot up front with us. I can see the whole show. So, Mr. Lady Ada, why don't you tell us what's
The
inside show?
code tonight is we can. Yeah, we can. We can is the code 10% off the native store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. or when I remember to turn it off. You'll know why can is in the code in a little bit. Talk about our Adafruit live series of shows. Just got finished with the show and tell. Talk
Big.
about Desk of Lady Ada and some of the great search. John Parks, product pick of the week. Time travel, look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, and engineers. We have a special mailbag involving Adafruit.io and Whippersnapper, one of our new free offerings. Super cool. A little bit of reminder of what we're doing for our jobs board and more. Some fun stuff in the world of retro tech. It's Martintosh. Happy Martintosh, everyone. We got some Adafruit factory footage, which are now kind of turning into music videos that have factory footage, because that's our jam right now. I like doing that. Some 3D printing videos and speed ups and more. We got Ion MPI, brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. We got some top secret, some really cool stuff. We got new products, answer your questions, all that and more on Ask an Engineer. But don't forget, we do the questions on Discord.
Go to Discord.
Adafruit.it/Discord or discord.gg/Adafruit, because it's hard to keep track of all the questions, all different social media properties. So we do it on Discord. That's our show tonight. Okay, let's pay some bills. So codes weekend, we have free stuff.
Beep beep.
Don't miss out, free stuff.
Okay, let me tell you about the.
Yeah, what do we got?
All right, $99 or more. We've got the half-size Perma Proto breadboard, great for making your projects permanent. Take solderless breadboard projects, and they fit one-to-one on this PCB. 149 or more. We're still giving away pink circuit boards at
Really?
PCB. KB2040 features the RP2040 chip with a 8 megabytes of flash to make your T port, USB-C, button castellated pads, and it fits wherever a Pro Micro would have fit, but faster. And 199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. And back by popular demand, and also we could get chips. Circuit Playground Express. Yay! That's how you know the chip shortage has eased quite a bit. We got SAMD21 chips that feature in this Circuit Playground Express, our favorite all-in-one development board with LEDs, buttons, sensors, capacitive touch, and more. It's back in stock and free when you order $299 or more.
All right, we do a bunch of live shows every single week. Hours and hours of programming. Programming about programming sometimes. We just got off the show and tell. So show and tell this week had a lot of cool, interesting projects. This had a bunch of Adafruit folks and a bunch of folks from the community. It's hard to pick one project, but for the sake of doing a highlight of things, I'm gonna say the solenoid project that Steve brought by, because it was the first time he came on the show, and he's like, I'm nervous and everything, but he showed a great demo. Had this cool solenoid board that just went ping, 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 and like right away, I'm like, oh, you can shoot ping pongs with that. You can have it like
I just love how
ding bells.
it's so intuitive. It's like you just press the buttons and the solenoid's going.
Yeah. So very cool projects, and congrats, Steve, for making a very clever, interesting thing. I like type projects that people will make things that you didn't expect them to make
Yeah.
things with. So anything that can go ding, like you can line up a bunch of bells.
I mean, that's kind of fun. Actually, right,
Yeah.
there was that robot that would the drumming robot that would drive up to things and it would just like start drumming.
It's funny.
That was hilarious
Yeah.
too.
Okay.
I like the little AVR board, Braden Lane.
Yeah.
And
This is the thing. This is the thing. You could.
And Cy had that cool pie.
All of them were really good, and then
They were all really
Jepler
good.
had this cool ChatGPT thing. Anyways,
And then, like JP had the cool
yeah.
note inside the
And
synthesizer.
then we have a bounty to help Scott. So we got a lot of stuff done.
Good stuff there.
All right. So Desk of Lady Ada, we do that every single week. It goes in two parts. What did you show off?
Okay.
One this week.
Sure. Oh, it's been a day. Okay, so part one, we talked about March and Tosh. I think I showed off the Prince floppy as well.
Yeah, we'll show that a little
We
bit.
showed that a little bit. Yeah, I showed that off. I showed it in the demo. I also talked about the DVI feather and I was testing it. So connecting, running our Pico DVI script and it just like worked. Sending output to you screen captured some DVI output and also connected up to one of our HDMI monitors. We have a lot of projects that we're going to do now that we have a
Yeah,
solid DVI output board. I think it'll be fun.
yeah, we're gonna show that soon too.
Okay. And then you should have some HyperCard stuff because you love HyperCard.
Yeah,
And also we got the RFM feather, and that was what led
the
into
great
the
search
great
is when
search.
you search for things every single week using your powers of engineering.
So this RFM feather, we have a UFL connector on there, which means you can connect it to big antennas that use SMA. And so we talked about SMA versus RP SMA, and I showed off two antennas. Watch out. Already one person has said that they didn't realize that in fact they were not connecting through, and it's a common issue that people have if you're not paying attention. That there's two versions of SMA. And then I showed how you can get an adapter cable from DigiKey. They stock them in all lengths and sizes to take your kind of standard PCB mount UFL connector and bring it to an SMA antenna.
Okay. Then we have JP's workshop, which every Thursday, and during the week before that, on Tuesdays, we have product pick of the week. Take it away, JP, for this week's highlight.
Ding, 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 ding. The Grand Central Metro M4 Express Cortex M4 chip. Fantastic for running CircuitPython as well as Arduino. The number of analog pins on it is one of the huge draws for me. It has 16 easily available analog pins. Here's my Grand Central, and I have a proto board on top of it, to which I've soldered 16 little potentiometers and wired those up to the 16 analog inputs on the Grand Central. And now you'll see, if you look at these top two rows of 8 knobs, as I turn the potentiometers in my Grand Central, I'm changing the position of those knobs in the software, and thereby I'm adjusting parameters on this video synth. It is the Grand Central Metro M4 Express.
Okay, then on Fridays we have Deep Dive with Tim. Check it out every Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. You can take a deep dive into the innards of CircuitPython and probably watch how to build a complete thing or dive deep into a library and more on Fridays. Time travel. Gonna just lead right into some reminders and news and stuff like that. So first up, we're always trying new platforms, and we're also trying to go to the places that are the most open and don't necessarily monetize you constantly, or just like there's so like social media is anyways. You know the phrase, you're out of the product anyways. So we've been looking forward to an alternative to Twitter, so we're on Mastodon. Find us there. We post specific things on Mastodon. Lady 8 and I manage the account there. We don't have an automatic bot thing. It's content that we're like, that's kind of cool.
Just us.
And we also dusted off our Tumblr account, and you can catch us on Tumblr. Some of you are probably watching this on Tumblr Live. We had a Tumblr account like 13 years ago, and then Tumblr got acquired by Yahoo and Verizon, and then it got acquired by Automatic, runs WordPress, and the folks there are doing a pretty good job, I think, of making great communities for people to share their passions, as they say. Really big retro community, art communities. So that's where we are. So we're putting some special stuff there, including our March and Tosh offerings. So if you like retro stuff, it is there. So long live the Fediverse. Next up, mailbag.
Letters. We get letters. We get tweets and we get emails. Your comments via RF.
Okay, this week's mailbag is a little special. It's part of I/O. Once again, people are discovering that we have this service and they're really liking it. So Whippersnapper, which is a no-code or low-code way to connect your devices online, has a bunch of fans. So this one is from a parent and a teacher, and they say, just wanted to add that I use a CO2 sensor with my 8th grade science class today, and they were able to see firsthand the rapid rise of CO2 levels with the candle burning under a jar, and they used the SCD41 next to it, as well as evidence of their own CO2 exhaled. This is a nifty package and works well with the ESP32 and Whippersnapper. Thanks for the helpful support.
That's
So
cool. So that's a really useful science class.
yeah, and we're like 3 years after the beginning of COVID. There was an anniversary, but during that time, I was like, oh wow, maybe schools could all show how to build CO2 sensors. Like we could all build CO2 sensors because it just showed how many people were in an area and stuff like that. At least there'd be something useful to build and maybe learn from. That didn't happen, but hey, this is
Yeah.
so maybe they didn't have Whippersnapper. That maybe that's the reason.
Yeah.
But you can use Adafruit.io free. We have Plus accounts, and then you also have Whippersnapper, and you can connect up any sensor that we have that's supported, and
we have
almost,
dozens.
almost instantly do stuff like this.
Yeah.
You got kids and you want to show CO2 levels. Simple project. In fact, we get many nice emails like this, but once in a while we get emails that say, you're making it too easy. It should be hard. They should cut their teeth on the hard stuff. Anyways. Help wanted. So I'm gonna go over to jobs.adafruit.com, or you go to adafruit.com/jobs or adafruit.com/careers, and you will see we made a change. We had a jobs board where anyone could just post. They were moderated, and we would then release them to make sure they weren't sketchy or scammy, because there's a lot of sketchy, scammy things out there. Be careful, everybody. But for now, so we decided, let's get rid of that WordPress jobs board. Let's put it on adafruit.com/jobs. And then we're going to migrate things to use our user pages on Learn. So right now, this is the brackish period. There's saltwater, freshwater. This is the middle. So right now, the only thing we have up is some offerings from Adafruit. So if you're in the New York area and you want to work with our team, check the jobs board there. We have a couple things right now and more all the time. But that is what we're doing with jobs right now. This will change very soon. But I wanted to have this for our team. When we get an email that says, I want to post a job, they can send a link to this video time code thing on YouTube, and you'll see this is what we're doing. But don't worry, you'll be able to post jobs soon again. We're just shutting down a server and getting ready for other things. Okie dokie, it's retro time, Lydia. Okay, retro tech this week. I'm going to highlight some more things from our celebrations of all things retro Mac-ish.
Love Apple stuff.
I'm dancing on the line of maybe it's not exactly emergency. So we have things like the Apple Newton. I'll talk about that in a second. We have other things.
I feel like the Newton,
even like the next computers, it's kind of close. But anyways, we do have some fun things. These are the Apple design speakers. Ooh.
I think if it wasn't during like the Mac heyday, right, of like 1985 to like 95, that's fine.
So these are all in the Adafruit collection. We also have the black speakers. Now these were a special, somewhat more limited, rare edition. These paired well with the Apple CD, which we also covered. And then here is a clear Newton. This was super rare, and this was given away at a developer event by Apple when they wanted people to make applications and more for the Newton. Clear aesthetic is super cool from the Adafruit collection. Then we have our box copy of HyperCard that was still sealed. We haven't cracked out the floppies, but this was kind of what started a lot of us on programming. You used to use HyperCard a lot. What did you make with HyperCard? We were talking about this on
I made games, and I made like interactive, like weird art stuff.
Yeah.
And
do you think this helped you on your path to where you are now?
Totally. It was
Really?
it was one of my first programming languages. It was probably my first like true declarative language. Previous ones were like scripting, but like this one, you had variables and you set them. Like I tried to learn Pascal, but Pascal, because that was what people programmed Apple computers in, but it was too difficult for me. I couldn't I didn't know what an integer was, and I got really stuck because I didn't know what an integer was. And so I kept using the word integer, and I'm like, I don't know what that is.
I think the closest thing now is like, there's like MakeCode and everything, but as far as like programming. A lot of people are getting started with Python and like block coding languages. I'm a little worried
I think the
that
Python doesn't have integers. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would have been able to do
I'm a
that.
little worried that there isn't something like HyperCard
There's a
for
glitch.
youngins though. You know what I mean? Like it was just a different time and place, and there wasn't internet at it wasn't there,
Yeah.
and it was just before
It's ironic,
the
it's
idea of
hypertext.
stacks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I have a little 2-minute video that has it's from Computer Chronicles, and it has the creator of HyperCard, and it's a long video online. It's like 26 minutes long. Well, it's not really that long. But this is just a 2-minute clip, just to show you like how interesting and powerful this is, and there's still nothing quite like it. So take it away, like 1980 something.
HyperCard, what is it? It's not hyper, it's not even a card, it's not quite system software, it's not quite application software.
Could you tell us what HyperCard's all about, Bill?
Well, really simply put, HyperCard is a software erector set that lets non-programmers put together interactive information.
Show us how you actually do this, Bill.
You use cards that contain graphics and text and buttons. Here I've got a stack of cards, and I can press on this button and it will take me to another card.
Okay, and that button's particular function is get to the next card.
Right.
for example.
You can have lots of buttons to do different things.
Okay.
Buttons can do things like dialing the phone and taking you to cards and lots of different
Whatever you
things.
tell it to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cards are grouped together into stacks that you put on a floppy disk and can share with somebody else. And you can organize it so that any card can jump to any other card.
Is this where you get that notion of hypertext built into the HyperCard system?
Yeah, it's kind of the freedom to organize the information according to how things are associated with each other, not just according to the next card in the list.
Right, okay.
The buttons, as I said, can do lots of things. Here's one that makes a noise and sounds. And you can have lots of different kinds of cards. The standard 3x5 card is a little weak metaphor, but you can include things like an expense report or maybe an appointment book, things like that. Lots of different kinds of things can be on cards. Even little interactions. Here's a little keyboard that you could click on, and it makes sounds and moves the note accordingly.
So you can do things within a card itself. A card is just not some information.
What's real important is that cards contain both information and interaction.
Right.
All right. So watch our posts on everywhere with the tag Marcintosh,
Especially on Tumblr.
especially on Tumblr, because that seems to be where the most people are sharing these type of projects. Also Mastodon, but either way, we link to all the places. On Desk of Lady Ada, you showed the Prince floppy project, which is I do want to show this live though, because that could look like a label. This is actually an LCD screen. So why don't you unplug it and plug it in? So this is a representation of what we have on archive.org. I'm going to back up more.
Sorry.
Yeah, back up. Yeah, so it's a floppy. It's a 3D printed floppy. This is the PyPortal project, and then when you plug it in, it displays. You saw CircuitPython fly by real quick. It displays the logo that Print sent out on these floppy disks a while ago. So I thought I would do is show you the archive.org page. So you can also go to our website. The print symbol has been salvaged from a 1993 floppy. This is Neil. Neil's a big Prince fan. Had this. We were able to copy it. We were worried that this would destroy the disk. There's not that many left. And when Prince changed his name to Lars, formerly known as Prince, had to send out the font to all the journalists to say, if you're going to write about me, this is my name. So we were able to duplicate it, get it to archive.org. I think you've got to go to archive.org/details/print_floppy. This is what the original floppy looks like. And so what we're doing is preserving exactly what's on there and putting it on this. Essentially, it's a USB drive with a screen. And we're going to give this to Neil. who was kind enough to let us mess with this to get the
Yeah,
data off.
well, you needed, we had a PowerBook 150, which had an internal floppy drive that still worked, which was like really good. I think we tested with a random different floppy to make sure that the floppy disk wouldn't damage the disk, so like you could read and write
Yeah.
from it. And then we carefully put
Yeah. Worth noting,
disk
this is a yellow disk. I'm sure they didn't have purple floppies at the time, but ours that we have is purple, and we're going to send this over to
and sparkly.
and sparkles. So we thought that
Sparkly
was
purple.
we thought that was kind of cool. But if you think about it, you could do this for anyone. We wanted to make this as an idea for gifts. So let's imagine there is something special that someone remembers a game that they played. And it was on, you install it on a floppy. You can put it on there, give it to them, and put the emulator on there. There's lots of fun things you can do. Anywho, that's our retro stuff. It's Python on Hardware time, lady.
Let's do it.
Okay, lots going on. In the last few weeks, when we've been doing the Python on Hardware segment, we would focus in on one big story, but I wanted to show the cornucopia of stories and more that Anne and team put together, mostly Anne. So we covered Pi Day. We also had a note about the Raspberry Pi Foundation, which is different than the Raspberry Pi company. The foundation supports kids, gets stuff out to everyone. If you're thinking about donating to a cause that gets computer science into the brains of youngins, this might be to think about. We also try to put things in like reminders. We did a rollout a long time ago with our team, but now the rest of the world is doing, we're all doing the same thing. So GitHub is going to start rolling out two-factor authentication. So if you're using GitHub, you will need to use it in some way.
Yeah.
That's good. More little ways for security, the better. Make it reviewed, Geek Mom projects. You should use a lot of our stuff. Using CircuitPython and neuroscience. And so if you just go through and see all the different projects.
So many projects at this
phone dialers. This is a really neat aquarium that you can use in Adafruit, MagTag, and CircuitPython. A theremin. But there is well, there's two things. One is the little
this cute little guy.
Yeah, this is a new RP 2040 Lego minifig.
Oh, it's got little
and it runs Circuit
9 LEDs.
Yeah, and it runs CircuitPython. And there's just like a ton of stuff. But there was one that I thought that was neat because we had to release this a while ago, and this was a really good video. This is if you want to use your computer as like a hardware interface, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it the best?
Yeah, basically it's like if you have any computer, even like that runs Linux, or actually it works on Mac and Windows, and you want to control GPIO like buttons and switches, or drive NeoPixels, or connect to SPI displays, you can use one of these FT232H breakout boards that we have, and you connect it to your computer with USB, and then in CPython, like on your desktop, you can use our library that talks through the FT232H to your hardware, and like it's not as fast, ironically, as a microcontroller, because everything has to go over USB, and so there's a little bit of delay. But for like buttons, you want to add like arcade buttons or LEDs or NeoPixels or sensor data that you want to get. It can be easier than having to program a microcontroller that you then send data, right? You write the code runs instantly and gets data back and forth. So it's I try to tell people how amazingly cool and useful this is. I mean, I don't know
Also,
people. It's hard to comprehend.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you don't need to use a microcontroller. You'd use a computer for stuff because then you get all the benefits of a computer without like I have to optimize everything for a microcontroller. But the other thing that's kind of neat is if you learn Python once, it works lots of
everywhere.
places.
The same CircuitPython libraries work everywhere, which is the big goal of CircuitPython.
We kind of like that. All right, so that's this week's Python on Hardware. Don't forget, you can get this delivered every week, kind of like DJ Devon's mailbox. Maybe it'll go, you've got mail. You've got a box full of wires. Adafruit Daily is where you sign up. Separate site. We don't spam you. We don't harvest email. We kept it completely separate from all the Adafruit store stuff because we don't want your data. We don't want to mess with you. We don't like pop-ups. We don't like spam. We don't like that either. So you gotta be the change. We're an open source hardware company. I don't know if you knew that.
I do.
Every day you know that.
Every day.
So we have a bunch of guides on the big board this week.
A lot of good guides.
Yeah.
And we'll show some
Start, I
off.
think with Tron Disc, right?
I think the Tron Disc was from last week, but why not talk about it
Yeah.
again? It's
Well,
a cool 3D printed disc.
Pedro's on the show and tell. So
Yeah, well, yeah, you showed it off.
yeah, we did talk about this last
It's
week.
magnetic, so it clips onto your back, which I think is what makes it really cool because you know you store it on your back like with magnets, and it looks just like the
Cool.
movie. We've got a guide for the pie cowbell. I think this was last week as well, but why not again? We're doing a lot more cowbells. You're gonna see prototype today.
This we showed the video of last week.
Yep, this is
So this row was last week, bro.
Yeah, that was well, I think that guide actually went live last Friday. So
We got a lot going on.
The Cybercat MIDI. This is an infinite text adventure.
This was a preview we showed.
We showed the preview, and Jepler finished it. So this uses the OpenAI ChatGPT API to connect through with the CircuitPython board. So it's actually a good demo of like how to connect to ChatGPT through CircuitPython. And using the touch screen, it basically the prompt is, make up a text adventure game and then give me 4 options to what actions to do, and it'll actually like play, like it'll come up with a game for you that plays kind of forever. You can win eventually, but it goes in weird directions.
Yeah, the neat thing that we'll probably see soon is someone will make a magic 8-ball that when you shake it, it'll ask a question and you get the answer, but it'll be maybe audio or something like that, because there's just it just spews text. We were talking about this, I think, on the show and tell. Like, ChatGPT right now is not something you should trust like your web search with maybe yet, but it will write you amazing fan fiction.
Yeah,
if you want to see if Chakotay and Tuvok eventually hook up in that story, well, like this would write it for you.
Okay, that's really specific.
I mean, I don't know if it would write that story.
Okay, anyhow.
Sorry.
So it's this, even if you don't build a particular project, it's interesting if you're like, hey, I want to try ChatGPT through a microcontroller, not a computer. So it uses you can use a Pico W or a ESP32 with CircuitPython. And with the request library and the code, Jepler shows you how to get the OpenAI token, so you can make ChatGPT projects. I just think it's cool and weird.
We were talking about I was talking about how we're finally here with microcontrollers that can do scripting languages, and we just have a gigantic pile of unending text that can be parsed and found. Okay, so for the folks who've been playing along, so back in the day, we would do projects and we would want to find an open API or something to just give us some data. So like weather, all of a sudden all the weather places stopped allowing access. Then we're like, let's try something else. So unfortunately, like there was Bitcoin price. And that like if you look on like Hackaday or any website, it's like, oh look, there's like with the price of Bitcoin.
It's an easy.
They made it so easy.
Yeah, it's easy to get.
They made it so easy.
It didn't require SSL.
But then it didn't require SSL. And so Adafruit was like specifically targeted. Like, why are you showing the Bitcoin price? You're the worst.
I'm the problem.
We're the problem.
That's why Bitcoin is why it is, because we showed a project.
So we would, people were making these like little here's the price of whatever crypto. So we stopped doing those projects. We took them down because we're just tired of like people threatening our team. Like, oh, I hate you. I'm gonna beat you up or something because you like crypto. So now I think there'll be a new thing to hate, but this is kind of a very neat unending thing. I actually saw someone that said it asked for like some type of like classify thing, and then it said give that to me in JSON. Oh, and it did it.
Yeah.
Oh. So anyways.
If it's real. All right, next up we have the Star Fragment IoT lamp. This was a project I know Pedro and Liz worked on. It's modeled off the star fragments in Zelda Breath of the Wild that they would only light up at night, so you had until sunrise to go find them. So this lamp uses an ESP32 S2 Cutie Pie, and it also an IoT project. It's CircuitPython. When it wakes up, it figures out based on you tell it what time zone you're in, and it or your location, rough location, it goes online and it finds out when the sun rises, and it turns on, it starts brightening as the sun is setting and starts dimming as the
I got one of those lamps, but it wasn't connected to the internet, and I have to remember, and I never use it.
Yeah, you never use it because it doesn't automatically do it all for you. So this one does it automatically. Trevor, who is our iOS developer, has been learning Python and building a bunch of projects for fun, including this mini weather station using Open Weather Map. This is based off of, I think, we had PyPortal version of this, but he shrunk it down and made it nice and cute so he could sit on his desk. It's just cold New York. And then Aaron, we also have a video we're going to show.
Yeah.
We were inspired when we went to Chinese New Year here in New York City. We saw these really cool dragon dances, and we're like, how cool would it be if there was these puppets that people were playing with? They
Yeah,
had
put
LEDs in
electronics
them. So it has a circuit playground as like the pearl, right? The fireball in the mouth. But then when you shake it, in make code, you can detect like on shake, the whole body lights up with LEDs. So it's
Yeah.
a very
I
cool
think
project.
the electronics hobby gives you something which is a new lens to look upon the world with, which is you see something like a beautiful traditional historic thing like these dancing dragons, and then you're like, oh, I know electronics. It'd be really neat to have sound activation and lights and all sorts of things, and you get to combine the two.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible to come up with anything truly original anymore, like every bubblegum every bubblegum flavor it's done, but you can combine different things, and I think that's what an electronics hobby allows you to do. So that was a neat one. Okay, let's play the video from Aaron. Roll right into manufacturing factory footage too, and then we'll see you on the other side. That's the factory footage. It's 3D printing time. It's 3D printing time. We're gonna do a couple of videos. We have the Star Project, and then we're gonna do a speed up mushrooms.
Okay.
And
And
then,
yeah.
and then
See you soon.
let's keep rolling.
You can build a light-up project inspired by the star fragments from video games such as Animal Crossing and The Legend of Zelda. This geometric star is fully 3D printed and illuminated with NeoPixel LEDs. It's powered by a Wi-Fi dev board to know what time it is, so it'll light up when the sun is setting and turns off when the sun rises, just like the luminous collectibles in the game. Powered by the Adafruit Cutie Pie ESP32S2, this dev board features the expressive ESP32S2 Wi-Fi chipset. It's got 13 GPIO, 4 MB of flash, an onboard NeoPixel, Stemma QT, and native USB for running CircuitPython or Arduino. The NeoPixel driver BFF allows you to quickly add NeoPixel LEDs to your projects. It has a 5-volt level shifter and detachable JST PH connector. It's designed to fit on the back of any Cutie Pie or Xiao board. The code was written in CircuitPython by Liz Clark and uses the Open Meteor API to get the sunrise and sunset. The code uses the API to request when and where the sun is, and then calculates the time remaining until either the sunset or sunrise. In the loop, time is tracked and pings every 5 minutes. The NeoPixels gradually brighten or dim depending on whether the sun is setting or rising. The core of the star fragment is a dodecahedron that has 12 hollow spikes that snap fit together, and they're 3D printed without any support material. A 3D printed mount houses 2 NeoPixel sticks and snap fits into the bottom of the dodecahedron. The bottom spike features a hole for passing a cable and snap fits into the star fragment core. All of the pieces are hollow and allow the NeoPixel LEDs to fully illuminate the geometric shape. We also designed a base and stand for the star fragment to rest on so it can prop up nicely on your nightstand. In anticipation for the next Zelda game, we thought it'd be fun to take this out in the wilderness and reminisce about finding a star fragment just like in the game. We hope this inspires you to check out CircuitPython and the Cutie Pie ESP32S2 for your next bright idea.
This week's Ion MPI is from.
CUI Devices.
That's right.
They've got a nice new logo.
Every
I dig that.
single week, we explore all the new products. This is brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. We call this MPI, New Product Introduction. What is this week's MPI?
Okay, this week's at NPI is from CUI Devices. It's their series of DIN rail terminal blocks that are stackable, and they come in a variety of sizes. And you might be like, DIN blocks? You mean like Din Djarin, the hero of the Mandalorian, who also shoots DIN rails out of his blaster? Yeah.
Man, Disney does everything now.
I know. Look, if I have 5 minutes, I'd like to do a silly little Photoshop.
Yeah.
But so you've got DIN rails, which look like that, minus the blaster part. And these are a standardized metal railing that is used in servers, electrical work, robotics, automation, and other electronics. A lot of the electrical distribution boxes also use these. And by having a standard mounting rail, this is the Wikipedia article, by having a standardized mounting rail, basically you avoid the problem of what I used to do, which was just drill some holes in the wall and maybe use some like lag bolts, or maybe have a 2x4 and like things wouldn't be rated for holding stuff and it would get loose. So you attach the DIN rail very solidly to your enclosure or to your wall, and then you can easily slide items on and off the railing. It's designed very nicely, and it's a standardized size, and everyone agrees to use this size, and so you can kind of like mix and match from different suppliers. So, for example, they have a bunch of different ones, but the one we're going to talk about the most is the TBDR-13-25-BK and family. And this is a bi-level, it's a 2-layer terminal block, and you can see, you actually kind of like see into it. It's to keep it slim. Maybe we'll go to the overhead real fast, and I can show this. I'll show it. So this is actually, maybe I'll just go to the demo now. So this is a DIN rail. Let me focus, it's nice and clear. So this is the DIN rail. So I just got like a nice aluminum one, but they're made also out of steel. And you can see that it's got this C shape that things can slide on in and out of. So let me slide this up. So there are ones sometimes that you can like bolt onto and make it stronger mechanically, but for the most part you could just slide things on and off so you can position them and they like pretty much stay in place. And this is 2 terminal blocks, so I slid them side by side, and then you can slide more just by hold on, this is the connector part here, and you hook this on. The only problem is once you do this, it's kind of hard to, you can take it off, but you have to slide it off. So it snaps in, and then you push it onto the end, and now you've got 3 terminal blocks, or 3 distribution blocks. And these come in different sizes. So this is like the smaller version. Sorry, this is the smaller version. And this version, in comparison with this one, so let me slide this back out so I can show you the difference, and we'll talk about them. This one is a distribution. So you see these 4 are connected. These 2 are connected together, and these 2 are one piece of metal. And then there's this big hunk of tinned copper that connects between the 2. So these are connected together. This one is a grounding style. So you see that these 2 pieces connect together. So there's like 2 push to insert wires, but then the metal comes down and it scrapes up against the railing. So this is a grounding connection. So if you want to have an earth ground, this is one way to do it. Then you just earth ground the railing. So it's kind of a little bit of a hack. Use the railing not just as mechanical, but as an electrical earth grounding. Okay, so let's go back to So that's DIN rails. So there's a lot of different families. If you want to buy DIN rail, FYI, DigiKey stocks like bazillions of different sizes. Yeah, they have a lot. They're all pre-cut. If you need to, you don't have to cut it yourself. You don't want to get a hacksaw. There's channel. They're made, by every maker. Copper, PVC, stainless steel, aluminum, whatever you want. Galvanized, non-galvanized. There's different types. There's a couple different types with slots, without. Lots of again, this is very standardized. So they have like 1,000 different products. And there's also lots of accessories. So we're talking about terminal blocks here, and you can see that they have, thousands of terminal blocks and channel, but there's also like accessories and holders. And then I can.
That's cool. Someone in the chat said you can mount your DIN rail to your IKEA pegboard with automotive push rivets, too.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we don't see more just like, I'm going to decorate my home with it.
Oh, actually, I forgot I was going to open this package. So can you go to the overhead again? I'm sorry.
Are we doing an unboxing?
Well, I was going to show off.
Everyone on YouTube was doing unboxings for a while. Maybe we should get into that.
So this is, because we have them in the store. So this is like a DIN rail mount for an Arduino Uno. You would plug in your Metro or your Arduino, and then, it has that same.
Done did it.
Yeah, I don't take it out of the packaging because I'm not going to actually use it. But it has that same plastic, hook piece that slides onto the railing. So this would slide in, and then you could have terminal blocks. Arduino. So DIN rail is very, very popular. I really like it. I have used it in some projects for like robotics, where I had to mount like terminal blocks and driver boards, and then onto a body of something. And it's you don't want to have everything kind of strewn around. So the accessories. So this is the CUI devices product pages. They also have these little plastic pieces. So if you get the right ones that match, because there's different sizes, and we'll show you some of the different sizes. There's plastic pieces that match up and will protect that last piece, because you saw one side is open and the other side is closed. So on the end, you're going to want something to kind of cap it. So they have caps that will fit. I did get a cap, but unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention. Didn't realize that they were all different sizes, and I got the wrong size. But you'll not be me; you'll get the right size. So this is one. This is again the double layer, so two heights. A grounding version because you can see it has that metal piece that bends down and connects to the railing. And this one is kind of large. It's 68 by 46 millimeters, 5 millimeters thick. And then they have a kind of short, like a short squat version. It's like one layer, also a grounding type. And this one is 69 millimeters by 35. Some of these go down to 14 gauge, some do 12 gauge, all start at 26. So they're, if you're using kind of a standard 22 gauge, 24 gauge wire, should be good. And they're all rated. So the one I got here, I'll even read on the side. It's CE and UL 500 volts, 22 amps. So these are great for power distribution, but they'll also be fine for data. And this is like the shortest one. This is the smallest size I showed you. It's only got 2 terminals, but also a grounding connection type. And this one is a petite 48 by 30 millimeters. So, you can mix and match, stack, any combo. And then CUI also has a awesome guide with really beautiful images. They have a wonderful, whoever does their web graphics and web design is top notch. A terminal guide at block 2 terminal block selection. They have a huge family of terminal blocks. I think this is the first time they've gone into DIN rail compatible blocks, but these are extremely cute, slim. They snap on very nicely and they look very nicely made. They look very solid and reliable, and a wide range of sizes and wire gauges.
Available on DigiKey
And they're in stock.
647. That's a lot.
There's 18 different terminal blocks, different colors and sizes and configs. And then they also have 6 or 8 of the caps. So
Still not used to everything starting to be in stock
I know,
again.
it's in stock.
This is great. All right.
Good stuff.
Another good INPI. Thank you, Adriana.
Of course.
Okey-dokey, we're going to roll right into new products. But before we do, don't forget the code is weekend. Lady Ada, hit it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, don't forget, we have a little recap on probably you're watching on YouTube, but we do a little recap each week. So this was last week's, and if you missed last week's products, you can always catch up because we have a lot going on. This is videos that we put together. But this week we have some new stuff.
Okay, we've got some edge lighting LED strip. This is just warm white and cool white LEDs. This is the warm white that we're showing here. That's why it looks so warm. It's just plain 12 volts, plug it in, and it's like ultra high density LEDs, and it looks like just one large, warm strip of light. We've had these before that they like the light comes out the front. The light comes out the side. So you can see only the top edge is lit. So this would be good for edging something, like if you want to have a thin layer of light go around something architectural or a project where it has to go around corners. This way the light will go
That's
around.
warm. What if I wanted cool?
We have cool too. So cool light. Again, we have the version where the light comes out the front. And that's good for like high illumination. But the edge lighting is also very, very useful, especially again, you want to bend it around because it's flexible. You want to bend it around corners.
I want my cool side cold and my warm side warm.
Got both warm and cool. And then next week we'll have RGB as well. But just as a note, it's all one LED, like one big light. You power it, the whole thing lights up. It's not addressable. You can't animate the individual pixels.
All or nothing.
One ginormous LED that you drive 12 volts.
Okay. Next up.
Yet another Raspberry Pi camera. This week it's the global shutter camera. So this is kind of interesting. I guess this is used in photography. Instead of scanning through the pixels to take a photo like most high resolution cameras do, this is a global shutter, which means that it grabs all the pixels at once. So that means that, some people know if you try and take photos of something that's going very fast, you're trying to take speed photography, sports photography, some wildlife or nature, whatever, something's moving very fast, you'll get like a skewing effect. Like if you take a photo of a propeller, it's a common thing that you'll see that as the scan lines get scanned, like the image looks stuttery. With the global shutter, the photo is taken all at once, so you don't have that stuttering effect. There's no change between, there's no motion between the lines, but it's a lower resolution. I think it's only like, 1 point, more like 2 megapixels. It's not like, 5 or 10 or 12 megapixels. That's the trade-off. But if you want global shutter, you want to take the photo all at once, this camera's for you.
However,
Want to note, it doesn't come with lenses. You'll have to pick up a
see
lens.
these things? They don't come with it. You're going to
Doesn't
need
come with
it.
it. Yeah.
See how it doesn't come with a lens? You're going to need a lens. And if we say you need a lens and we have a picture of a lens, don't say, well, there's a picture of a lens. I should have got a lens. No, you need a lens. These are what lenses look like.
That's right. So you'll need the lens. It's a C or CS
Yeah.
lens.
You screw onto this, yeah.
You screw on.
Don't come with it.
And you get the wide angle or the telephoto, and that's how
Yeah.
you take photos of the thing either far away or really close.
Yeah. All right, next up. This is coming soon, but we were excited.
It's kind of soon, but a lot of people asked us, they wanted to know when these would be available, so we figured we'd put them in the shop. This is the DVI output RP20.
They're going to go fast.
They're going to go fast, and they're very cool. So it has a DVI output port, also known as HDMI compatible.
Yeah.
It doesn't have audio, although we're kind of looking into maybe we could add audio.
Who knows?
But for right now, it's DVI only, and we've got an Arduino library that we recommend people use where you have a frame buffer. And this is the Adafruit GFX like demo
Yeah,
code that
it's cool.
we've got. It draws like circles and lines and squares and fonts and text. So it's a 320 by 240 internal or 400 by 240 internal frame buffer 16-bit color. You can see some color here, and that's because that's how much memory the RP2040 has, right? The RP2040 only has 264K of RAM. So if you are using 320 by 240, that's 155K. 400 by 240, that's 190-ish K. So, you want to have some memory left over, and those are kind of standard DVI resolutions. There's some Pico DVI projects where they like automatically on the fly generate graphics, and so you can go to higher resolution, but then you don't have a frame buffer. You're kind of like on the fly trying to generate the graphics. But you know what? You check it out. I'm sure the folks here who are excited about doing DVI hacking. But what's just really neat is it's all in one. You get all the feather pins labeled, at the top, and it's like the standard feather GPIO as well. I2C, 8 megabytes of flash, USB-C. The DVI, output at the HDMI port using 8 consecutive pins. You also get the hot plug detect utility and CEC pins if you'd like, and the I2C coming from the DVI, right? That's the EDID reading code, so you can tell what monitor it's connected to. That's level shifted, and you get that on the I2C pins as well. So good video hacking board that will be coming soon. Figured to let people sign up for it.
Sign up, we'll go fast.
Week or two, we'll have them in the shop.
We can
hopefully
go to the next one.
Okay, so we're getting close to the start of the show, but to get ready, we're going to have a Can Pal. This is a board that I designed a few years ago when we were doing some can experimentation, and then I couldn't get anything. But the components are finally available and back in stock. I can't believe we couldn't even get like CAN bus transceivers. That's how bad it was the last few years. But now they're plentiful. So this is a CAN bus transceiver. This is used with a microcontroller that has a CAN peripheral. The CAN peripheral is the thing that generates the bits, and the transceiver is what converts it from those bits into the differential signal required to be on a CAN bus. If your microcontroller doesn't have a CAN peripheral, you can't use this. This is only for those microcontrollers that have, if it says somewhere in the data sheet, I have CAN bus, you can use this, and you connect the RX and TX pins to the 2 CAN pins, power it with 3 to 5 volts, and it uses whatever logic level you power it with. Some chips that do have CAN peripheral, ESP32 N series, STM32F405, SAME51. Some chips that don't have CAN peripheral, Atmegas, SAMD21, SAMD51, RP2040, although somebody once did a PIO hacked version, but pretty much it doesn't have a peripheral built in. NRF52 series doesn't have CAN. The IMX RT1011 doesn't have CAN built in. The TNC4 does have CAN, so you would use this with the TNC4. Again, you have to have that peripheral, connect the RX and TX. On this board, we also have a little boost converter on the left that'll generate the 5 volts required from 3 volts power So you don't need to have a separate 5-volt power input. And there's a switch on it for the termination. So it's a good idea to have termination at the beginning and end of your CAN line, because you have like all these devices on it. If you want to add termination, flip the switch, and it says 60 ohms, but it's 60 ohms on each side, high and low. It's 120 ohms total. I want to clarify that because I think it might be confusing. So on the other side, you get the terminal blocks with low, high, and common ground. So that's the CAN bus transceiver. If your board and microcontroller have CAN peripheral.
Start the show. Besides you, Lady Ada, our team, our customers, our community, everybody who makes this thing go is drum roll. Here it is. CAN.
Okay, but let's say your microcontroller doesn't have a CAN peripheral and you want to add a CAN
That's what I
peripheral.
want.
Okay, you've come to the right place. You want to use the CAN bus wing, which
Oh.
features the MCP 2515 over SPI. The CAN 2515 is a slightly older chip, but you know what? It's reliable, it's inexpensive, and it's available right now, which is really important. So this chip is partnered with a TJA 1051-T-/3, sorry, TJA 1051T/3, which is a 3-volt logic level CAN transceiver. We also have a little 5-volt boost generator to give you clean 5 volts so it can communicate on the CAN bus lines. And this basically adds a CAN peripheral to any microcontroller that doesn't have it built in. As I mentioned for the CAN PAL, ESP32 has CAN peripheral, TNC4 has CAN peripheral, SAM-E51 does as well, and the STM32F405. But most low-cost microcontrollers do not, in which case you plug this in. It communicates over the SPI lines, plus it needs a CS pin, an interrupt pin, and boom, you have now CAN bus for any microcontroller board. So let's go to the overhead,
Boom.
and I will show you
Boom.
what it looks like. Okay, so let me
Zoom.
zoom exactly and focus. Okay, so this is it. I just plugged it onto. Whoop, this is let's see. This is a SAMD21 or NRF50. Sorry, it's at Mega 32U4 Feather. A perfect example of a chip that does not have CAN bus, but let's say you want to send messages back and forth. You plug this in, it communicates with the MCP 2515. There's code in like every platform has code for the this chip. It's extremely common. It's kind of like the CAN transceiver chip that everyone uses. And then it sends messages to and from this. And then over here is a terminal block. You can use the wires here. You plug into H and L through the transceiver. This is the transceiver. The CAN bus lines, you can connect to a CAN bus and send and receive messages very nicely up to, I think, 1 megabit per second speed. So very, very fast. Over here, if you want, you can get a DE9. So like a serial port connector, and you can solder it. They straddle. They can get this versions. It's linked off the product page. You solder it in, and then you can connect this to like an ODB port. A lot of them either have a or CAN devices have a DE9 DB D sub connector, or you can connect it to an ODB cable if you want to connect to a car. There's onboard termination here. This is like the 120 ohm, and then you can cut this if you don't want to have the termination because you're adding this into an existing CAN bus line that's only terminated. And then we also have the reset and silent pins. You probably don't need them, but if you do want them. And then on the back, we connect the chip select and interrupt pins automatically to GPIO 5 and 6, but you can cut them and reassign those pins if you like. Just solder a jumper from these pads over to whatever you like. So this is, any feather you want to use with CAN bus, very common in robotics, again, automotive, automation, but also it's great because unlike I2C, any device can send a signal at any time. So it's great for large networks where you don't want to have like one polling controller and multiple peripherals. Unlike UART, you can have multiple devices. There's a priority queue built in. It's differential, so it's great in noisy environments. And it's a pretty low cost way to connect to existing devices that use CAN. Very commonly used, in a lot of electronics and automotive robotics and such, but I think could also be used by in general makers who want to connect multiple microcontrollers together using only 2 wires.
We asked, can we do it? We did.
We can.
That's new products.
New.
Yeah, so it's been revealed. That's why the code is we can.
Okay.
We can. Okay, so you can post up your questions. I have some lined up. We're going to do some top secret.
Okay.
Okay, top secret. We're going to play some videos. We have a tester video, a little bit of the DVI stuff we're going to play. Even though it was a coming soon, we have a video with that. And then we'll bounce right back and answer your questions that you're posting up in Discord. All right, Lady Ada, what is this?
Hey, I'm doing more conversion of testers from using a Teensy 3.6 to RP2040. This is the PID 5303, which is our ESP32 S2 feather with the ME280. And I'm uploading the test code over USB. And then the tester output comes here. Test the pogo. Well, it doesn't actually take 5,000 seconds, but because it's been on for a while. But this test is going to be a lot more reliable than using a Teensy or a Raspberry Pi. So I'm really psyched. And it just uses an RP2040 to do USB bit bang host. And then I like that it has analog inputs, unlike a Raspberry Pi, because it can check the voltage of the battery and 5-volt power supply on here. So it's going to go through and test these all.
Hey, Lady Ada, what's this?
This is my prototype for the Feather RP2040 with DVI output. This is an RP2040 with all the fixins, stomach QT, and a DVI output port. So let's try it out. We'll plug in the DVI first. We got this standard HDMI cable, and then plug in the USB, and it starts up. And then, in a moment, one recognizes. Ta-da! Yeah, it takes a second for this monitor to recognize it's got input. We've got 320 by 240. Sorry, this is 800 by 480, but it's pixel doubled. So nice. On the internal memory, it thinks it's 400 by 240, and even better, it can run off of a battery because it's a feather. So there you go.
That's
coming
cool.
Soon to the Adafruit shop.
All right, jumping right into questions. Thanks so much, everyone, for waiting. If you posted them earlier, we got them all. Here we go. First up, question for the engineer. I've reverse biased the battery on a Feather S3 versus TFT. I need to swap out a LiPo gauge chip. What heat would you use? Or would you use your new heat gun on to attempt at avoiding melting the screen on the back? I've got aluminum tape on plastic bits as a token gesture.
I would not. I would just not use the battery on it. I mean, if the feather works without the battery, just keep moving on because you risk damaging it even more. Sorry.
Are terminators required at the end of CAN modules?
You'll want terminator on the end of each end. If you have like a long string, and that just I've looked on an oscilloscope, and it does help because there's like a pull up, or like the capacitance in the pull up will create a little bit of a curving to the traces. So yeah, like you just have the termination on either end, and you're good to go.
Okay. The Adafruit Feather RP2040 with DVI output port. Will it fill a full screen of an HD TV monitor, or will it be centered and have a black box frame about it? TV would be 1080p or maybe 4K.
Yeah, what your TV will do is if you pipe 640 by 480, it will just fill the screen, and it will do a black bar either at the top or the bottom to get the aspect ratio. But the screen will max out. You won't get like a teeny. Like you won't use
that'd be terrible.
It won't be like,
like a postage stamp in the middle.
No. It automatically scales it. It has a scaler built in. It automatically scales it, but you might have a black bar. If your screen is like a wide screen, you're gonna have black bars on the side because the aspect ratio is in 640 by 480 or 4 by 3.
Yeah.
Or whatever 640 by 480 is.
Yeah, we're thinking for that particular product, a lot of people will be able to do cool art because you
Yeah,
have
like
each,
a video synth or something.
a lot of people have TVs and they're just off most of the time, and it's not really. It's in the center. It's in the most valuable real estate in home, but you don't get to create things for it, like little fun things. I think, believe it or not, that might just be the questions.
Okay.
We were answering some in the chat earlier. I think we got to most of it.
Yay.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's it.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, that is our show for this evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Special thanks to Takara behind the scenes. Hey, Takara.
Hey, Takara.
I have to email Takara. We were gonna have a video fun chat.
No.
Anyways.
Kiddo chat.
Yeah, we were gonna have because I'm like, yeah. Anyways, I wanted to show our little kiddo. And thanks to all of the Adafruit community members, the entire team that's been keeping things going, everything that helps make this show go. If you want to save a buck or two and
make it go
and support our team, which has benefits and 401k and all the things that everyone wants and a cool job, career opportunities more. The only way we do this, because we don't have loans or venture capital, is if you buy something.
Yeah, and Phil actually spent our entire savings account on OpenAI ChatGPT prompts for Star Trek fan fiction. I got the bill, OpenAI.com ChatGPT, and it was like $5 billion. How many fan fictions did you have to write?
A lot.
Okay.
So Neelix, I had this Neelix arc of the story.
Recipe generator.
And it's just like, I couldn't stop myself.
No, just kidding. It all goes to our employees.
Yeah. So thank you if you buy something, but if you don't, that's okay too. Make something and share it. Rising tide raises all boats, as I say. So we'll see everybody next week. Thanks so much. Here is your moment of Xener.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.